Welcome to the Check20 podcast, where we ramble about the game we are all designing, and these guys kind of help me stay sane while we're doing it. I am Shrek, or Mr. Shreckles. I am the lead designer and creator of Check20. We have Aaron, lead engineer. Go ahead.
Hello.
Perfect. You did really good. Everyone's really proud of you. And we have Builder, lead boy and potentially social media manager. Say hi, Dodo.
Hi, Builder.
Yeah, I set that up perfectly for you this time, didn't I?
Thank you.
What do you guys know about the magical origins I've put in place? Yeah, curveball. What do you get?
Yeah, I guess.
They exist.
I feel
Like
like
a woman.
they make sense,
Sure.
which is, I mean, like, I feel like that's a good
So
thing. They make sense.
As much as it's mechanical, this is also pretty heavily a lore episode as well. Because the magical origins are definitely tied to the lore of my setting. They might not be tied to the lore of other people's settings when they run the game, but I feel like they are, with the exception of one thing, generic enough that anybody could use them for anything. That one being evil magic. And we'll get to that in a minute. If you guys watched the character creation episode or caught any clips from that, you might have noticed that this list is a little different when I go over it. So originally I had some other things. I'll bring it up over here. The magical origins as seen here on the website had conflicted, opposed, incompatible, and indifferent. So I've changed that to just two different categories now. We have conflicted origins and neutral origins. And we'll go over those now. Conflicted, meaning these things are diametrically opposed. They hate one another. They are either born oppositely or have grown to hate each other. The magic itself, the origin of magic, how that magic came about, is opposed to one of the other things here. Now, these aren't all conflicted with one another. Some of them are similar to one another in ways, but they specifically are conflicted against certain ones. There is probably in the neutral area more subtle interactions that could be mechanics could be discussed this session. Things could change because of the discussion from this session, because these are highly tied to spells. Certain classes and even species are tied to these origins. So any one change to these leads to huge changes throughout the entirety of the game. Dangerous conversations ahead. You guys ready for it?
Hell yeah.
Our origins, starting with the conflicted origins, are Celestial versus Vozian, Nature versus Dragon, Arcane versus Chaos. Those are the three conflicted groups. The rest are just the other six are just neutral, which is basic origin, chrono or chronomancy, life, which is also related to death, tech, crystal, and elemental. I want to ask you guys, based on this list, what origins do you tend to gravitate towards? And I'm going to go with Aaron first because I already know what his is, being lead engineer.
Actually, I was gonna say my first go-to is Vozian, with followed by tech.
I mean, that's the fun thing about the system is we are combining two things constantly.
Yeah.
Do two different paths and have exactly that. In fact, that's your Sunday character, actually. Core Forged, which is tech. And a daemon version of it, the Vozian tech of that. That's fun.
Yeah.
You're exactly what you wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
Builder, do you have a origin that you lean towards? I have an idea there as well, but let's see what you say.
I don't play too many magical kinds of creatures, but I am always down for a good celestial type guy.
Well, here's the thing. These are all linked inexorably, if that's the right word, to everything. So whether you're using magic or you're just a like, so nature, that's where you're getting all the beast folk, all the apex chitinari, the grazers, all those are nature in origin. Your undead are tied to life, draconic to dragon. They all have magical origins. And if you go to the species, which I'll go to the species page now, you can see the apex. We've got nature. Core bound is one is arcane. Vozian. These all have different origins built into them. So it's not just how you cast spells or anything like that. Hell yeah, dog. Gonna look at those for a while. That's a nature guy. So that being said, would you change how you feel about any particular one?
Honestly, I'd still say celestial in nature then.
Like a holy stag would be the perfect build for you.
Beautiful.
Those are
Yeah.
like the exact opposites of mine. My
Yeah,
choices.
kind of. Yeah. If you did dragon, celestial or nature and dragon are opposed, so those would actually be the opposite.
Something I've always thought that's interesting is how it seems like a lot of magic systems have their magic like lean towards like being good or evil. Like, feels like that's not something that's really necessary for every magic system.
Yeah, and honestly, so if there's 12 origins and 2 of them are good and evil, I would say that my system definitely doesn't lean good or evil, right? It is much more a sphere of influence than it is a
and
evil.
I still feel like there are obviously like Celestial and Vozian have good and evil vibes, but they aren't necessarily good.
They're
and
the
evil.
closest we got to Christian value of angels versus demons.
Yeah.
Are they angels and demons? Barely, right? We know that that's barely true, but I mean, need to have representation of everything, right?
Yeah.
Or I tried to find out about something in a culture, and I try to like bring that to the game or and have it influence other stuff in subtle ways.
Some of this stuff I don't even know, so I'm curious to hear you talk about each of these origins. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun for you guys as players having interacted with these things. And I think Builder, if you're already thinking of these things as specifically spells only, I think it'll kind of blow your mind a little bit how much of the design of the entire mechanics and game and world are built around these things and not just in a spell way. One of the discussion points I have here is, should all origins be equally common? And gut instinct is no, but the more that I look at it, like in a gigantic city like 10th Landing or the Scarab Lord Hives, probably going to see a little bit of everything, right? So maybe I'm immediately wrong by my first thought. Maybe they are pretty equally common, depending on where you're at. But it being unequal is also really fun too. Then you're building a story like, oh, it's just a tribe or a city of Hellborn, and they all use tech magic, something like that. Starting off top of the list here, we're going Celestial. So Celestial magic comes from the realm of Celestia, which is most commonly associated with angels, but not, as we said, not traditional Christian, IRL angels from Christianity.
You mean they don't look like floating bands of eyes with tons of wings and
There's probably celestial creatures that have that look.
Yeah.
And I think Troll's character has one bound once he levels up more. No, there's no specifically floating orbs of angel wings and eyes. But there are like the humanoid form angel wings, like a dude with wings or a gal with wings, or a non-binary pal with wings. They're also tied to the seven being the 7 celestials that make up the universe.
Because I know some people are going to do this, I'm going to ask something obvious. Are they supposed to be your version of 5th edition's half angel or half like celestial race in
So I
5th
have
edition?
the species that is realm split being split between, prime material or what. Oh, you know what? I didn't move my
The
mic.
Asimar, the Ace, right?
Azamar, yeah.
The Azimar. That's
It,
Are
so
they
my
supposed to be like them?
the seraphim are like them, yes.
Okay.
That's speaking solely species wise, right?
Yeah.
But this is origins. So this is
Mhm.
including monsters, this is including items, spells, anything like that.
Yeah. Classes. Are there any classes
Cla-
that are
class options have origins as well. And as say it one more time, each path has one of each origin, each talent has one of each origin.
Mhm.
So you are combining, you're not actually making, the meta of it is you aren't making just random connections and stuff like that. You're actually combining origins to make a unique character, to make a hero, to make a villain, or whatever you're making. So yeah, it's almost a little bit beyond just like a standard sort of character, I think.
Yeah.
Or I guess that's one way to think about it, right? As per everything. So Celestia, like I said, it is kind of half go over this again. So Celestia is not just angels, not Christian God, but it is celestial bodies. 7 celestial bodies that make up the entire universe, right? These are they're known as the 7. Many people, I don't know if worship is the right word, because the 7 are everything. It's almost falling on deaf ears, because you will never see an avatar of the 7 uh on the planet, right?
Would
Because
it
they are
be
so powerful that it's impossible for them to sliver themselves so small to do that.
like someone worshiping air or something like that?
Well, no, that's actually way more common. Because that's tangible. That's something you can feel. The 7 are literal galaxies. They
Okay.
are not a physical form in any way, besides like something. They contain multitudes of planets.
Mhm.
The funny thing is, Shek is at a central point between all of those 7. They all sort of meet at this almost eye of the storm where Shek sits. So it's Goldilocks in its own sort of way. So the 7 are nearby, but if any one of them tries to influence the planet ever so slightly more than the other, it could throw the entire universe out of balance. And I'm not saying that hasn't happened, but
So they are to some extent conscious. They have like
conscious. Yeah,
thoughts. Conscious. Sorry.
they are beyond conscious. They
Okay.
are. So if their galaxies, to put to scale, is like, we are less than single-celled organisms to them.
Mhm.
We are electrons to them, or whatever is even smaller than that. I think would be the closest scale that would fit for their size to us.
Okay.
If they're full-on galaxies, does that mean that the smaller gods that are within those galaxies are also made up of these larger gods, or is it kind of like they're just an area and stuff is inside them?
It's kind of an interesting question. So, as the power scale goes down, right, with the 7 Celestials being the most powerful things, every step down is exponentially shrinking, right? The next down from the 7 is Tala, Mother Nature. She actually has children with each of the 7. Tala is just the planet, right? She can only be the size of the planet at most. So we go immediately from galactic scale, celestial body, galaxies in the night sky to the planet, right? Exponentially smaller.
Yeah.
Her children have domains within the Fae, so there's already sectioning. They can never be as large as her, so on and so forth. Till you get to the point where you're talking about just dudes that are strong, right? At the bottom of that deity list is, something a character might not ever achieve. Someone, running the game, you might never achieve something like that. They're just just above that, right?
Who was that crow god with a really annoying voice?
The twins Hugin and Mugen.
Yeah.
That was specifically Hugin.
They're
important
pretty small time gods there.
So here we have screen to our right. Here we have the gods list. Here are the 7. Who you're talking about is so far down. I'm not fun. Not fun. It's just data. It's just different ways to look at the data, because you can also do the tree. Look at it that way. Let's get back to this. So, as I said, the 7 Celestials are the primary gods that make up the universe. Truly galactic scale. The Celestia itself has 2 major regions, the Boundless Nebula and the Perpetual Acropolis. The nebula is vast cosmic nothingness, and the Acropolis feels more concentrated. What that means, I'm not sure. So I've never had any play in Celestia. I've never brought any groups there. So I know what the Eclipse looks like. I brought you guys there. I know what the Fae looks like. I've brought characters there. I know what the Ordealus looks like. Things like that. Don't know what Celestial looks like because its scale is so immense that you would need a whole nother system potentially, doing the sci-fi version of it or something like that to even scratch that surface, right? Because
Sounds like potential DLC.
right, something like I don't know if you guys have seen NASA photos, but the Pillars of Creation, it's like an amazing celestial body that would be like a region that they could occupy. I don't know. It's tough for me to wrap my head around, so I almost don't want to adventure there. And it should feel that way. It should feel so powerful that the players shouldn't be able to go there, right? Because you're also a character. Why would a character of it's not like that. But I can see something like Bender in space where he has an interaction with one of the Celestials. Each of the angels, each of the 7 do have angels, and they do visit our world. More often than not, they are in the Abyss. The Abyss is also known as the prison. It's where gods are imprisoned by angels of the 7. It is also the same place where those angels will fall and become trapped, hopefully. Which you guys have also experienced.
Hopefully, you say.
So, with these gods being celestial bodies, galaxies, I definitely feel like you should feel cosmic horror rather than reverence and divine love or anything like that. Like, these things are beyond powerful, beyond scary. Do not worship them. In my opinion, if I was a character in Check, I would not worship them, because it's almost like I don't want to bring them any closer. What if they decide our planet's over with? They could just snap.
Kind of like not wanting to draw attention to yourself.
100%. All right, so moving on to Aaron's favorite, Vozian. Vozian magic is yay! Fucking get excited, dude. Vozian magic originates from demons and regions of the Ordealus. And I'm not going to get into the Ordealus this episode or other realms as much as we already have. Let's try to, tighten this up a little bit. But
Well, Ardelis is your version of hell, at least. Let
it's
them
my
know
version
that.
of hell, the 9 hells,
Yeah.
but the quick version is, so hell is just if you bad, you go there.
Mhm.
Ordealus is everyone goes there if you're tied to that sort of death plane, right?
Mhm.
Many like beast folk or nature-based creatures would end up in the Fae. Elementals might end up into the void, which is another place. But Ordealus is these 9 ordeals that your soul goes through to achieve an angel form or become an angel. It is very rare. It is only for the most powerful, blah, 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 blah. Not worth it. Don't even try, dude.
You won't even get past the eclipse.
Dude, you wouldn't even make it, dude. Yeah, the eclipse is where you end up first, and then the ordeals. Again, let's not get into the realms. It's so much. There's so much lore there. Two reasons we have Vozian, right? The primordial evil god Vulvasvash. It is a 3-headed demon, otherwise known as Vozo. Their magic is Vozian magic. They were followed by the god dragon Kalis from another somewhere in reality or beyond reality. That is still an unknown thing because that's time before time. That is pre-dinosaur era that this happened, if you were going to count it in such a way, right? The god dragon Kalis and Vozo fought for many years, for ages even. Eventually, Kalis won, ripping the 3 heads off of Vozo. One became this hidden moon that only Vozian-aligned creatures, or creatures that are very knowledgeable in Vozian energy, know about. They can see it at night, they can see the light of the moon. Otherwise, you cannot. One rests beneath the Vozian Sea. The third could honestly be anywhere. I haven't determined where that third one is. And maybe that's up to you. Maybe your group gets to figure out where that is, So, yeah, that's the origins of demon magic, the origins of the conflict between Celestial and Vozian. At first glance, it's angel versus demon, Vozo arrived to destroy and consume. Celestials are there to maintain order. So that in and of itself is already a reason for conflict. Demons and angels, it's not an absolute line either, right? Because there are demonic angels and angelic demons. Those both exist. If you make a character combining those things, you've already done that. Our previous campaign, you met Zartarus, who was like half angel, half demon, wearing, golden demonic armor. But he was also the mayor. He was like, the town was a lot of angels, a lot of demons, and he made sure that everybody was unified. All of these things, even if they're conflicted, do have an opportunity to combine. But in the magic system is where we see a lot of, or there's even some features where one can deny the other, where you don't see that a lot with neutral magic, with neutral origins. Aaron, what sort of draws you to the demon discussion?
because they feel, at least the
Cool as
demons
fuck.
they're cool as fuck. Yeah. Long story short,
Yeah.
they're cool as fuck. But no, the Vozian, the Vozian origin in your universe feels different than other, like, just, demons from hell. It's they're like, they're so varied. Like the demon from a demon from the first layer of the Ordealus is going to be so different from a demon from the seventh. It's
So I have 11 different types of Hellborn, each from a different
Yeah.
layer of the Ordealus. And two others. One is just pure Vozian energy. The other is abyssal energy. So it's like more like fallen angel kind of thing. I think the 9 ordeals lends itself to really interesting themes and storytelling.
And I know, like, having different demons for the different layers of hell isn't something that you invented. It's just,
Sure.
I like your version of it.
Yeah, I'm far from the first person to invent demons. And also, like, demons themselves, I see more varied than just Vozian demons. I think there's
Yeah.
some Fey demons and Draconic demons and stuff like that. Draconic demons is funny because Tiamat does exist as the Queen of Gluttony in the Ordealus. She has brood that are demonic dragons that we have yet to see. You guys have ever yet to see in play.
My favorite Vozian character was our evil campaign. I think his name was Zoran, the Hajab.
Oh, the
Hajab.
Hajablan.
Yeah,
Yeah, the Hajablan.
he was a Vozian, a Vozian
Angel
paladin,
hunter.
essentially paladin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His goal was like finding and killing angels, which he did once.
Mm-hmm.
And once was all you need.
Mm-hmm.
He's staying
Yep.
by that in such a good way. One thing I wanted to touch on is, would you trust an angel or a demon more? I know theoretically, like, you should trust an angel and not trust a demon, but I feel like I have created so much nuance and so much motivation from the motivation thing that you get, because you don't get good neutral, chaotic neutral. You don't get that. You get a line that tells you what your motivation is. And when we built Kilbach Randallstorff last episode, motivation ruining someone's life, I wouldn't trust him, but he's just devourer. So I guess if you want to be racist, would you trust an angel more or a demon? I feel like angels almost have a I'm going to get my job done, I don't care if you're in my way sort of mentality.
Yeah.
At least
They
they're
won't,
above board.
they won't lie to you, but they don't care about your feelings or your life, honestly.
Yeah,
You
they'll
don't feel
kill
that
you,
way?
but they'll do it to your face. They're not going to stab you in the back.
You're
A
still
demon
dead.
will. I mean, if you look at demons in media and stuff like that, oftentimes they are truthful to a fault. I do also want to mention demons versus devils. 5e has like a demons versus devils thing, and there's a lot of different lore behind all that. They're all this. It's all demons. I only have demons. There's no devils. Build your own lore around that. Shout out 5e. Sucks.
I do. I would probably more trust a demon, and I'm not saying that just because I like Vozian more than Celestial. I think that you can manipulate a demon more easily to get what you want than a Celestial.
Know its
And
true name. Know what it
yeah,
likes.
or just like make a deal, with
Yeah.
it or something like that, and some give and take. Whereas, like you said, a Celestial will plow right through you in order to get its job done. Fuck the consequences, that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, an angel is almost a force of nature that you can't be reckoned with. You can't like
Hmm.
ask it to stop, kind of thing. All right, so next origin we're going to talk about is the nature origin. Pretty self-explanatory. It comes from nature magic. It comes from Tala, Mother Nature herself. Boop, 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 boop. She has plenty of children. Tala has children with each of the 7 Celestials. Each of those are just aspects of nature as we know it, winter, summer, and as I kind of said before, scales down exponentially, right? We go from galaxy to the planet to a region of the Fae, and then, each children thereof would just have maybe a territory to a point where you don't have territory. You're just, I think that's probably the switch from deity to powerful creature, is if you don't have territory, if you don't have domain. The Fae sits as close as you can realm-wise to the prime material. Prime material is what, it's just real life, quote unquote, as far as the game world is concerned. Within real life, the 2 closest are the Eclipse and the Fae. Eclipse you reach when you die. The Fae, also, if you're of nature origin, that's where you'd go. But also you can get lost in the woods and end up in the Fae. I think the question is, yeah, does it only come from Tala? Is Tala connected to every branch tree and leaf? Or is it just nature itself? I think that's something that you would have to come to terms with in your own games. You know what I mean? I don't want to answer all of those questions. In cities, you're going to find way less nature origin, mostly because it is a bit blotted out by others. It doesn't prosper as much, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Like sewer rats and things like that are nature origin more than they are city origin, and they thrive. Raccoons in the, in the cities and things like that. So there's still reasons for nature to be there. The old stories of werewolves. So for us, it'd be direbacks going into the city to destroy what man has wrought is an epic tale, and I think it still works in Check.
What does count as nature? What doesn't, I guess.
That is something I actually, I don't say struggle with, have like a bit of a thing with at the end of this, where one of the neutral origins is life magic. That includes life and death, so that includes mutants and mutations as much as it also includes the undead. Now that theoretically could include everything, right? That includes every living species, that includes, all that. But it's how you interact with that origin. So life magic would be causing mutation. Nature magic is more summoning woodland creatures. It's more roots and things like it's theming. It's the theming of it, right? I think there'd be a precedent where you can control nature with life magic, but you can control people with life magic. So it's in all things. So it's how you choose to control it, right? Because you can also create Celestial or Vozian magic or any other magic type to create a hand that can manipulate nature. You can make dragon magic that manipulate, you know what I mean? So it's sort of the theming of it, where the magic comes from, and then how it interplays with the other magical types. Specifically, the conflicted magic is where it's currently important. So that is nature magic. The conflicted to nature is dragon magic. Dragon magic, as I said earlier, originates from the god dragon Kalis. Kalis is a rainbow dragon of immense size that, after fighting with Vozo, destroying the primordial evil, then went into hibernation for millions of years. They are visible as a continent on the world map. That's how large Kalis is. In fact, when Kalis breathes in and when Kalis breathes out is how they record the seasons of the year. When Kalis is breathing in, it is more similar to winter. When they're breathing out, it's more similar to summer. Wind only moves in one direction throughout the year. There is some other storms and things like that that can alter the path of wind. It's rare. Like there's windmancers or elementalists that can change those things as well. But in general, you're only ever experiencing one direction of wind. One Direction, shout out One Direction.
I love that band.
One other thing about dragons is they are deeply tied to transformation, polymorph, things like that. Because the old stories of a dragon changing into a human and then like fall in love with another human, or interesting stories like that. It always caught my attention. I think dragons hiding among humans is always a cool story. So polymorph magic felt right for them. One of my players once had the funny idea of, oh, my dragon doesn't have a gender, he kind of just is gender fluid. And I actually like that because of the polymorph magic, that's tied to them. So that is lore. That is a truth. Dragons are gender fluid, and if they fall in love with someone, they will adapt to what that person needs. Dragons are also immortal. Dragons are immortal. There is probably there's a few million-year-old dragons out there, right? Which is I love the idea of a dragon that is millions of years old. It's wise, sage, but they've also forgot where they left their keys, and the continents had shifted and they didn't realize it. Like what happened to Pangea?
So I have a comment and a question. Comment is one of my favorite bits about building this system and this world with you is when one of us does something and then it becomes canon for the entire
Yeah.
system /
Happens
world
frequently.
/ lore. Yeah, it's just a fun thing that happens sometimes. And the question is unrelated to what I just said. But my question, going back to dragons, and I've always kind of been curious about this, is but what is uniquely dragon? Like, what is uniquely dragon magic, I guess?
So if you're a human using draconic magic, what does that look like? Or why is a dragon more unique than a large lizard with wings?
Or some other,
is that
and
also
how
part
does
of
it
it?
differ from other origins?
So dragons, as I said, are technically alien, right? So Kalis the god dragon shows up on the planet. Vozo follows later, but like by a century or so. So it wasn't like they arrived at the same time as maybe made it seem like earlier. During that time, Kalis reshaped the planet to their desires. There was these elemental storms that were all over the planet. They absorbed the elemental storms, put them into their own realm. They breathed a new realm into life, the void, as we now know it, the crumbling void, because it's falling apart dragons aren't known for their realm magic. So they didn't create a perfect place for them to reside. They also, after absorbing these elemental storms, gave birth to a multitude of chromatic dragons. The types of dragons, the multitude of types of dragons were then birthed into the world, and those dragons went on to, do more interesting things. And those are the immortal dragons that you hear of. One of which is Queldelthas and Eros, who is a they are the headmaster of the Stone Tooth Academy is what I renamed it to. That's way less fun. So dragons are immortal. They live for ancient dragons are immortal. I don't know if modern dragons are immortal. That could be an interesting thing where only the ancients have immortality. Maybe when they die, they pass on their immortality or something to the next one. But inherently, if you die, then you're not immortal. So why
Double it
is
and give it to the next
nature?
guy.
Definitely give it to the next guy. So why is nature and dragon conflicted? Like I said, Kalis was not originally part of the natural order. They arrived and immediately started taking in the elemental storms, started adjusting their territory. When they breathe, they're manipulating weather and things like that. So Tala was immediately opposed to dragon magic. And later there was like this thing that you could call like the Feral War, where elven engineers were trying to lay down fey lines to create teleportation lines, and it affected dragons, causing them to go absolutely feral, and they're actually hunted for a long while because of that. The ones that came to their aid was ogres, and because of that, ogres were also hunted to extinction. Much easier to find and kill because of their silly, dumb ways. So there's actually little to no ogres in Czech because of that. That is kind of unrelated lore, but yeah. So all that to say, nature and dragon are conflicted because their magic also just is conflicted. It just doesn't work together. Fae loves to teleport and mist and things like that, where when it interacts with a dragon's mind, there's something that physically happened. Maybe it's something similar to our ears, where we have little crystals in our ears going on planes and blah 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 blah, loud noises affects that. Maybe it's something similar to that, where nature magic sort of affects the mind of a dragon in just wrong ways. Dragons are they're not invasive normally. Like, this is to my knowledge, multi-universally, the only god dragon in existence. They probably consider themselves part of the natural order, but they sort of force themselves into the natural order. So,
And why is, without getting too much into tech, why is tech not? Why is tech not in opposition?
Yeah, because
to nature?
Nature should be immediately opposed to tech, right?
Yeah.
Because tech is almost born of nature. It's not like Tala like loves tech or anything like that. It's just the magic itself is not opposed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like imagine dragon and nature being allergic to one another, where nature and tech are not allergic to one another.
There is such thing as like nature tech, for lack of a better term. They're like dryads, but they're core bounds. I forget what they're called.
So the type of core of the core forged is the dryad core.
Yeah.
Because gnomes took dryads from their home trees, put them in these cores, and put them in suits of armor, and created the first of the core forged of the cord. Those have definitely evolved since then. And all gnomes have been banished from the Fae. It's also another thing, but that doesn't make the magical types inoperable. It's a good point, though. Like, it's a good thing to bring up, I'd say. Builder, you have had nothing to say about dragons. Why is that?
Honestly, I haven't done anything with them.
I mean,
I don't think I've played any dragon characters.
So the final conflicted is starting with Arcane. I so little to say about this because we all know what it is. So it's study of magical laws, research, knowledge, experimentation, leading to understanding. It's the belief that if you understand reality well enough, you can change it. This is just wizards. This is standard wizards. This is what we wish was real, right? This is what we want science to be, where if we know it well enough, we can change it. But I guess If it doesn't make a profit, you're not going to be able to do it.
Okay.
Okay.
So the way you make it sounds like arcane magic is kind of like Wizards in 5th edition, where they learn enough in order to become magicians, magi.
Essentially, yeah.
And yeah, where all the other ones are a little more sorcerer, where it's innate. Arcane is learned.
That's not necessarily true,
Yeah.
because you can either write or be written upon forcefully arcane
Mhm.
runes and things like that and become a
Mhm.
natural caster because of that, right? So you or someone you know or something that experiments on you or is experimented upon, if that work is done beforehand, you can create a natural caster, right?
Okay.
But we also don't have something like a wizard versus sorcerer versus warlock,
Yeah.
right? They all fit into the same mage category. They all operate about the same. The only difference between them is some of them can deny other origins using some of their origin magic features that they get in their class abilities, paths, and talents. So yeah, this is just arcane. This is just science, right? This isn't tech, right? So it's as close to, this is close to tech. This is near what tech is. Arcane is probably taught in school, like as basic education. Arcane is probably how magic is taught, not necessarily the magic that is taught, although it probably is partially, right? The, you know, elementary school teacher is familiar with arcane magic. They explain how magic works. They teach you basic magic. They teach you what the different origins are. And then if you have aptitude, or if you don't, you learn arcane. I feel like that's forced in schools.
Okay, so arcane is the algebra of magic, essentially.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Algebra of
then
magic
from
is
there you
perfect
can
word
go
for it.
to fucking trigonometry or calculus or
Sure. Well, that's where it
stats
gets
or
different, because
right.
if arcane is algebra, then what is crystal? What is elemental? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's
it's an
new.
interest. That's the new. Yeah, it's Common Core, obviously. One of the discussion points is what happens when knowledge becomes dangerous, and that's what I was talking about with
Mm.
forcing arcane magic on someone, engraving them with runes and sigildry and stuff like that. Runic magic falls under arcane for sure, in my opinion. So if you're like a rune mancer, you put glyphs on stuff. If you use tattooing or sigildry, that's arcane. That is arcane magic for sure. The final, the conflicted to arcane is chaos magic. Kind of makes sense, right? Arcane is study in the perfection, where chaos, pure randomness, uncertainty, and improbability. It is always impossible. It's always unexpected, and that's exactly why Arcane hates it. Arcane wants to study it. As soon as it's studied, it's like quantum. It's a quantum thing. As soon as chaos is studied and understood, it is no longer that, right? Chaos magic adapts to the unknown every single time. It will not hold up to rigor.
Chaos is the unobserved state of magic.
Right. It's also how we play the
Yeah.
game, basically. It's just chaos magic. We don't know what's going to happen until we roll the dice, right? Chaos lives in that moment of uncertainty, and because of uncertainty, you know how in things like Aladdin or whatever, genies have insane ability because they have the wish. Their only thing they can do is the wish spell, but because of that, they have a lot of safeguards, and it makes them impossibly powerful. Chaos magic is similar, where they don't have control of their magic, and that's what makes it so powerful. It's just tapping into pure mana and letting it do whatever happens.
So I'm going to make a weird comparison here.
Please do.
within anime, my favorite magic system in any anime that I've ever watched is Hunter x Hunter because it's so well thought out and it's predictable. And I feel like that's what makes a magic system good is it's predictable. And in that system, in Hunter x Hunter, you can kind of magic is what you create it. Your powers are whatever you kind of want them to develop as.
Whatever's
And
manifested.
the more restrictions you put on it, the more powerful you will be. The more powerful. One of the characters in it is literally his power is that he has like a slot machine for and I might be misremembering because it's been a while since I watched it, but no, it's the guy where his power like talks back to him in a silly manner, and
Okay.
his power is random.
Okay.
He whatever slot it is like, oh, I don't know what my thing's gonna be. It's either gonna be a really giant sword or a really powerful gun, or yeah,
So
he
that's
doesn't know what
chaos
he's gonna.
magic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah. I think the fun thing that can happen with a chaos, if we're talking mages specifically, again, don't want to continuously say these are all magical things only. These are not just spells. Like there's arcane,
Mhm.
living creatures that are arcane, spell books that have come to life and gone feral. I think a powerful chaos mage is the only one that can understand chaos, is the only one that can kind of control it at the highest level, right? I think that idea is pretty sweet.
I like the idea that
It can also cause the fart spell.
that chaos and arcane are like two sides of a quantum coin, you know.
Yeah, it kind of
Like
is. Yeah,
like you said, it's quantum is one state when it's unobserved, but then once you observe it, it becomes arcane. Once you in the same way that once you chaos is chaos when you don't know what it is, and once you start understanding it, then it becomes arcane. Is that
yeah,
sound right?
yeah. That
Yeah.
it's close to exactly right. I'd say the only
Mhm.
addendum to that is it is an origin. It comes from somewhere, right?
Mhm.
Where arcane, chaos, and honestly basic all pull from mana itself. They use mana, whatever you want to use. They use mana to create things where they're using ambient mana. Where nature it comes from Tala.
Mhm.
Dragons it comes from Kalis. Vozian comes from the ordeals and any remnants of
Mm.
Vozo.
Okay.
Celestial is from the stars. Arcane, chaos, basic, those just draw on straight up mana and use it
Yeah.
how they desire. I think
Interesting.
so. So in that way, yeah, arcane and chaos. I think that because they're drawing from the same source, have
Mhm.
contention. That's why they're conflicted, not
Yeah.
just because they're different, but because you got to find that allergy reason, right? Because they can't just be
Mhm.
conflicted origin. Can't just be I don't like you. There has to be some sort of creature. You know what I need to do? Ending this discussion real quick or this episode on what would an arcane god be? I would say what does a chaos god look like, but I think the Warhammer got that figured out already. There's a few of those.
Yeah.
I think an arcane god or arcane creatures are also fun ideas.
Wouldn't an arcane god just be a really powerful wizard?
Sure, you could go there. I've been reading Brando Sando recently. Again, trying to get to. I was like, oh, have I read the fourth book? I put it on. I was like, none of this sounds familiar. I'm just gonna start here. He has these creatures called Spren. They have their own world, but there's a certain type of Spren called a pattern Spren, and they are
Mhm.
obsessed with patterns and cryptics and things like that. I think a god would be some perfect shape, like a cube or something like that, that
Hmm.
isn't like it doesn't have eyes. It doesn't need them. It's just got it's got runes and sigildry written so tightly on it that it isn't visible, right? And it's layered as well. It's almost the worst way to put it would be the house from 13 Ghosts, where it's just all
Love
these
that
glass
movie.
walls, with all the sigils written on it. Imagine that, but as a smaller, denser being, or maybe not smaller, but maybe even larger. I don't know. What realm would they exist in? Oh, I got some
Chaos?
pondering. No, Arcane.
Chaos and
Chaos
Arcane?
can be anywhere. Chaos can be the void
Yeah.
or the abyss. I can plug that in anywhere. But like specifically an arcane lord, where would that plug in? That's a really interesting idea. So we're not going to cover the neutral origins today. We're going to end the pod here, but I would love to stick around for a quick minute if you guys had any closing thoughts or any specific questions that we might not have covered about the conflicted origins.
No, I like
Builder.
this deep dive into the origins.
Yeah, and we have more to come on that. The neutral origins. Let's definitely save that for next week.
Yep.
Because we went way over time. Yeah, Builder.
I'm just happy to be here.
We noticed. All right, Builder, say goodbye.
Goodbye, Builder.
All right.